Alrighty folks, welcome to the 2025 syrup season, kicking things off here. And it's always nice to have a little bit of snow on the ground when we're starting this. It just makes it feel more like, you know, maple syrup season. But to get things started, we got to do a little bit of cleanup here from some limbs and stuff that have come down over the course of the summer. And there's a couple little spots up through here where there were some small trees across that were there last year, and they were kind of in the way when I was going through and checking on stuff and whatnot. So we're just gonna get everything cleared out of the way all the way along through here, and we're gonna be adding in more trees along this run as well. So I'm just gonna make sure this whole stretch along through that old fence line is all cleared out, and then we'll start going back through and working on getting new spouts in, fixing any spots that are bad, any, you know, if there's squirrel chews on any of them, getting those cut out, spliced back together, all that kind of good stuff. So I've already dropped the camera once, just trying to get up the hill to here. And the cool thing was, the zoom, it's got a manual zoom on it. From dropping it a previous time, it wasn't going all the way to the extreme, and that appears to have fixed itself by dropping it lens first into the snow. So that was pretty cool. But if you notice any weird smudges on the lens, that's why. But anyway, we made it to our very first tap, our first tree on this line, and it seems that this one has come apart, and it also seems to be the work of squirrels, because we've got some nice little chew marks in here. So we're gonna try and cut the bad part off from here and get this reconnected, although, you know what, I think we ought to replace this T, because there's some pretty good bite marks in that as well, and that could lead to a little bit of a vacuum leak to where it's not going to suck it downhill quite as well. So we might as well just go ahead and replace that while we're at it and know that it's good, and that barb's going to hold on well as well. This short side's giving me a little bit of issues with it sliding inside of there instead of gripping it. I'm going to try flipping it the other way so I can get that other side on as far as I want. I may need to add a little bit of something in there so that it there we go. So that gets it on all the way. I either may need to make this side longer, because I'm not quite sure. I mean, I did it short just because this side of the clamp is shorter than this side, but along with that you get less gripping power in here than you do on this side. So one option might be to try and just make a new top for this, make it a little bit longer, or possibly add a little bit of something in the groove here so that it gets a little bit more grip. I'm not sure. We'll do something, but it works well enough. I think we'll be able to get through this little bit here today. All right. First one repaired. Oh, but we aren't done yet, are we? Because I need to put a new tap on here. All right, we're almost there. All right. There we go. New spout on, T's fixed. That's hooked back up again. I think we're ready to keep on keeping on here. All right, that's the first lateral, main line, whatever you want to call it. That's 12 of them, 13 of them, something like that. Ready to go, top swapped out. Now we got another 12 or 13 on the further stretch. It's sure as heck not the nicest thing out there for doing this, but man, it doesn't work half bad for me being homemade and handy. Handy. I can talk. It's not that cold out here. All right. We've got one spot right here where there's a squirrel chew hole in it, and then there's another spot right here where one got really mad at it, and there's like 3 or 4 inches that's just really shredded up. So I'm not sure. We may actually be able to just take that whole section out of there. We got a little bit of slack in this, so I'm thinking we just take that whole thing out. Definitely need to do something with that shorter side. See if I can get that gripping a little bit better. Ooh, I think our short block's starting to pull off from there a little. That's not good. Okay, it's a prototype. It's a prototype. All right, there we go. Bad section's out. Union's in. Hopefully that's good to go. I may have to work on this thing this evening. All right, so today we're gonna try and get in hopefully all of the taps that we're gonna put in for this year, for the maples. And this year I'm only gonna be doing maples. I would like to try doing the walnuts again at some point, but this is only, I guess, my 3rd year doing tapping of any sort, and I really just want to try getting the process kind of nailed down really well, just doing the maples, because when you're doing the walnuts, you're essentially doubling your work. It may not be twice as many taps that you're doing, but you're having to boil twice as many times. You got to do separate, runs through the RO. It's just twice as many tanks that you got to have to store stuff in. So it's a lot more work trying to do both the walnuts and the maples. So this year I'm just going to focus on the maples. I'm hoping to do around maybe 100 to 125 maple taps, which that's about the same number of total taps I did last year. But last year, like I said, I was doing the walnuts as well. I only had 50 maples last year, so this will be twice as many to maybe 2.5 times as many taps for this year. Now, I was actually out here yesterday doing a little bit of work as well. And I got this stuff strung out behind me, and this took a little while to do this because the tubing for this lateral line was the tubing that was on the maples behind the farmhouse, and those just not produce very well, those compared to the ones that are kind of behind you guys. So I decided not to tap those again, and then I reused some of that tubing for this, but it takes a lot longer when you're trying to piece together, stuff that's already cut versus just being able to string out the entire line and then splice in your tees later. So that took a little while, but got all of that used up, and then the rest of what we're going to be doing today is going to be all with new line. Now I got my box of stuff back there, got drop lines, extra tubing, the fancy tubing tool that I made, and got a very nice sharp drill bit. that's always a good thing to make sure that that's good and sharp and that passed the test. So that's good to go. I did put one tap in here yesterday. That's the only one that's actually in yet. I just wanted to, it's a new drill bit, so I wanted to just test it out, and works really well. Yeah, so I think that's enough talking for this, and we need to get to going on getting some more line strung and holes drilled before it starts getting too warm and we're missing out on sap flow. All right, so this is the end of what I put in yesterday. Those are all the taps for this line, and then I just put on a wire union there. That way I could keep some tension on that, and then we can just splice right into that, take it down the rest of the way, and then once we get this secured at the other end, we can kind of get that unhooked from the barbed wire, and it should be tensioned enough as is on its own. So I'm not sure why I was thinking I needed to follow the same route all the way back down and then down to, we're taking it down to kind of the bottom of the hill here. That's just wasting tubing. Makes a heck of a lot more sense just to go whoosh, straight down there. I don't know. All right. Now, that there. There we go. One run strong. I'm liking this thing more and more all the time. It speeds it up so much. All right, so I think we got all of our new line in that I wanted to get in here. All the drop lines are in. For the old stuff down at the far end over there, I think all of the spouts are replaced. So now we're good to go through, start drilling holes, tapping spouts in, and getting these ready to go. Some of these are thinking about starting to run. They're not quite there yet. It hasn't been warm enough long enough, but they're thinking about it. All right, that is the first, I don't know, there's 15, 16, 17, something like that on that section. Got this, I didn't bring the hammer with me. I got this drop line in here and then realized we got more squirrel damage there. Oh. That's okay, we can fix it. It also doubles as a hammer. I think that'll do it. All right, I think this section's done. We still got to get a barrel out here, actually 2 barrels, one here and one for that set over there, but aside from that, they're set up and ready to go. All right, so we've changed locations. We've gone from the turkey field, which is down near the creek, and we are now all the way in the backwoods. And this fence that's right here, this is actually the back exclusion fence. This is pretty much as far as cattle would be able to get it in the farm, and everything else back here is just unfenced forest going back up through here. But there's a bunch of maples back in here, and we're going to tap a few of these, probably around 40. Now I think what we're going to do with these, I'm going to put a few more taps per line. I'm going to have 2 lateral lines, I guess 2 3/16 lines, and I'm going to put about 20 on each of them. With the rest of them, I've only been doing around 15 because supposedly that's kind of the optimal number to have per line. You can go up to like 20, 25. You may not get quite as good production, but because I'm only going to be doing about another 40 back here, I really don't want to run 4 lines of 10 each, so I'm going to probably do just the 2 with 20. Now, also back here, we're going to be doing a little bit of an experiment. I posted a question to the community tab here on YouTube, and it was, would any of you guys be interested in seeing a comparison between standard spouts, non-check valve spouts, and check valve spouts? And it was yes, no, and I have no idea what you're talking about. About 85% of you said yes, and the rest of you said I have no idea what you're talking about. So we're gonna give this a go, see what happens. This right here is what I bought the first year that I bought spouts. It's just a standard plastic spout. There's nothing special about it. It does take a slightly smaller tap hole. This is a 1/4 inch tap hole. And then this is the check valve spout, and I think you can see a little black ball in there, a little rubber ball, and that acts as a check valve. This takes a 5/16 tap hole, so it's a little bit bigger. But what this does is the reason that the sap flows out of the tree is because when it freezes, the sap tends to flow down into the roots, and then when it gets above freezing, the sap flows back up into the tree, and then that's what forces the sap out of the tap hole. Now, if you put a little check valve in here, this prevents any sap that's in your line from being able to be sucked back into the tree as that sap dropping down into the roots of the tree. So this prevents any kind of backflow in there, and for one, it keeps any sap that's come out so that, you know, maybe you get a little bit better production. And also, if you have any bacteria in your lines, it keeps any of that bacteria from going into the tree, because if you start getting that in there and contaminating your tap hole, it can cause that tap hole to start closing up sooner. So you may end up with a little bit of a shorter season if you're getting that contaminated in there. So supposedly this is supposed to help with that. But anywho, I've still got probably 50 or 100 of these just standard spouts left over from the first year, so I figured, you know what, we might as well do a little test with this, see what happens, and try to do a little comparison between these two, see if I notice any difference. Now, one thing that I did just notice as I was, you know, grabbing spouts to show you guys the comparison is that in my efficiency of wanting to get everything ready to go to bring it up here, I went ahead and put all my drop lines together, and I went ahead and put them all with the check valve spouts on them. So we're gonna have to snip some spouts off from about half of these drop lines that I've got, and then replace those with the non-check valve spouts on all the ones that are going on that line. Not that big of a deal. It's pretty quick with the little tubing tool that I built. I know I keep on talking about it, but man, it works so much better than doing it by hand. So we're gonna have to redo that. It'll be an extra maybe 10 minutes of work, but it is what it is. For science, right? I thought I was gonna make it further than that with what was left on that roll. I think I misjudged it just a tiny little bit. Sure didn't leave much extra tubing. There might be another 100 feet on here, something like that. So, that's not too bad. So that makes for probably about 1,000 feet of this 3/16 that I've unrolled for this year, something like that. Well, 1,000 feet of new that I've rolled out. That doesn't include probably 200 of some of the old stuff that I put out. So probably, yeah, probably 1,200 feet or so, something like that. Might work. Hopefully the snow doesn't melt too terribly quickly. Yeah, we got liquid in there. There's a bubble. It's already just about coming out the end. All right, so that's that run done on that side. And now for this one coming down here, we're gonna put our drop lines in, cut off all of these nice check valve spouts that I put on there. And then I've got some of the standard ones here in my pouch. Put these on instead. And then this whole run over here will be the standard check valves. I've got, what is it, 18 I think on that side. I'm not quite sure how many I'm going to end up putting on this run. It should be about the same, but I don't know, we'll see. We can compare it here in another month or so, see what the totals are. Well guys, I'll tell you what, I am dressed for 2 o'clock in the afternoon and not for, like, what is it, 5:30? Quarter after 5 with the sun going down. It's probably 10 or 15 degrees cooler out here now than it was when I got out here to start with. It's starting to get a little bit cold. But anyways, I think I've got in all of the taps along through this side, and those are the standard spouts, not the check valve ones. So it's not a totally apples to apples comparison. Over here we've got probably another 20 feet in elevation between the upper one and where the barrel's at. So that's probably got a little bit of an advantage with as far as getting maybe some more vacuum on it. This side I think has one fewer spouts. I think this has 17 for the non-check valve, and then there's 18 of the check valve. So probably we'll get a little bit more, you know, just because we got an extra spout for the check valve side. But we'll try and account for that when we're looking at the totals. But other than that, you know, I mean, the trees are 20 feet away from each other, so it's all in the same area. It's got the same exposure as far as the direction that they're facing. So I'm trying to keep it as fair as possible, but I don't know. We'll see. This will be interesting.